Joining us now is NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Michael, I can't think of anyone better to talk to today, given everything that we've heard. Chairman Benny Thompson said that our democracy remains in danger. How close did we already actually come to losing our democracy on January 6th?
We came as close as we ever have in more than 200 years on a day like this. When have we ever seen a coup d'etat like this? When have we ever seen a plot to destroy our democratic system? And at the center of that democratic system is peaceful transition of presidential power. And the question is, was President Trump behind this? Was he at the center of it? We will probably know by the time we finish watching these hearings. But if he was, he violated his oath to defend the Constitution. And this was just about the worst thing that a president can do. Presidents have done some pretty terrible things over 200 years. I can't think of anything much worse than a president waging a coup to try to keep himself in office, even though he was not elected. And the result of this could be to dismantle our democratic system. That's not what a conservative who believes in law and order does.
Michael, you are, as Andrew says, the master of helping us put things into historical context here. So help us put this moment into historical context, because there have been a lot of comparisons to the Watergate hearings, also aired live on television, a moment in American history here. Some similarities, some dissimilarities. How do you see it fitting in?
Well, the people who were running the Watergate hearings, the Senate Watergate hearing committee, had much easier time in the summer of 1973. As all three of you know, in those days, there were three main networks. They reached about 80 to 90% of the television viewing audience. PBS reached a little bit, and there were very few Americans, whether you were a Nixon supporter or not, who did not see those hearings and were not affected by them. As I hardly need to say to any of the three of you, we're living in a very different media environment. Country is very polarized. About a third of the country from the polls suggests that no matter what they hear, they're not likely to alter their opinion of Donald Trump. That was not true with Nixon in 1973.
I was talking to somebody this morning about that, and I asked them, what do they think about the hearing, and they said they didn't watch. And I reiterated some of what we saw, and they said, well, I still would vote for Donald Trump again. They were still a supporter. Let me ask you about the peaceful transfer of power. And this was a point that was made so many times during the hearings last night, that every single president in our history has peacefully handed over the reins, has handed over the White House, right. No problem, even if they didn't really want to do it, even if they were worried about the future of the Union. And Lincoln was one of those people. You can tell us about that. Benny Thompson spoke about it. The only person who has not done that in our entire history was Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And Lincoln is a very good example of the opposite that Chair Thompson mentioned last night. August of 1864, Lincoln wrote a letter saying that even though I now think, and he did at that point in the summer, he said he thought that General McClellan, his Democratic opponent, was going to win the election. And even though he felt that that would lead to shutting down the Civil War and the division of America into two countries, it was our duty, his duty, Cabinet's duty, to cooperate with the president-elect. He scrawled all this out on a piece of paper, sealed it in an envelope, brought it to a cabinet meeting upstairs in the White House, and said to the members of the cabinet, I want you to sign the outside of this envelope, but I'm not going to tell you what's on the inside.
And, Michael, Liz Cheney pointed out in her remarks last night that one of the paintings in the Capitol, where the insurrectionists, the rioters, were marching through, and you had police with long guns, one of the paintings is of General Washington resigning his military commission to create the first chain of command, the military stepping back and not, assuming any power.
Absolutely right. And George Washington, at the end of his presidency, as you all know, could have been president for life, could have made himself into a king. He had that much prestige. But he said after 2 terms, I'm going to leave because I want to establish a precedent that every future president will leave office peacefully and not just try to hang on forever because he's popular. An Englishman said at the time, with that act, George Washington has shown himself to be a great leader.